My name is Ranger Kathy, and I'm a park ranger here for the city of Escondido at Daly Ranch and Dixon Lake. And today we're talking about arthropods that you can see here. Specifically, I'm going to talk about insects and arachnids. So what is an arthropod? Arthropods are different than we are. Well, we have our skeleton on the inside of our body to support our mass. The arthropods, they have an exoskeleton, so it's outside. So they often molt in order to grow. Why don't we get rid of all the insects? We need the insects. The insects are very important for our ecology here. There's three basic things that I hope you take away from this to remember about insects and the impact that they have on our environment. One is that the relationship that they have with the plants. They help propagate plant species. You've all heard of bees. The bees come in and they pollinate, they spread the pollen to help out with the plant's reproductive process so that we have proliferation of plant species in the area. So that's one of the relationships that they have with plants, is pollination. They have another relationship with plants. There was a time when I was out hiking years ago, and I was in this oak woodland I was over near Cougar Pass, actually, here on Daly Ranch, and I saw oak trees, and then I saw what looked like red apples hanging from the trees, and I thought, there shouldn't be apples around here. There shouldn't be any apple trees. What it was an oak gall. It's not red anymore. But what the insect does, this wasp comes up. There's a lot of different types of galls, and there's a lot of different relationships between insects and various types of insects and various types of trees and plants and shrubs that produce this. So the insect comes and it harasses the tree, scratches the tree or irritates the tree somehow. The tree produces a habitat for the insect to lay its eggs. So the oak tree produces a gall, and then the insect, the wasp, will implant its egg inside of the gall so that the larvae can grow. And so that's another relationship that the insects have with the trees and the shrubs. There's field guides on galls. You can come out and try to find different types of galls, and it's a relationship between the plants and the insects besides pollination. Another reason that we keep insects in the area is, has anybody ever eaten any crickets? Eaten any insects? They're a food source. They're a huge food source for a lot of the animals out here. Insects, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, other insects, everything eats insects. It's like the bottom of the food chain, so it's really important. If we don't have the insects, there's an ant. So you may have heard in the reptile section about the great horned lizard. And the great horned lizard here in San Diego County in a Daly Ranch, I've seen them over off of Rattlesnake Trail and up by Mallard Pond near Diamondback. You can try to look for great horned lizards. They eat the specific ant, an indigenous ant to the area. And what happens is when other ants come in and compete for the space, and they outcompete that native ant, then we don't have as many great horned lizards because the great horned lizards only want that specific ant. So the insects that we have out here, we're kind of protective of those too. Another reason that we keep insects, besides pollination and as a food source, is that they help with the decomposition of everything that's out here. If you come out on the trails, and you'll notice that there's not a lot of dead animals laying around, and it's because the insects come in and they clean it up. They come in and they clean up the bones, whereas the coyote will come in and eat, if the mountain lion munches on a deer and has it stashed away, the insects will immediately move in. Everything will immediately move in and compete for that food source, for that energy. It wants the energy. There's a field of science that study you can go into, forensic entomology. If you want to find out how long something's been dead, there are certain insects that show up in a succession. They have like a hierarchy or order, who gets there first. So a lot of times forensic entomologists will be able to tell how long something has been dead by means of what insects or what is helping it decompose. I mentioned that the insects play a part in the reproductive process for the plants. Some insects have a reproductive process that affects arachnids. So the tarantula hawk is a wasp, actually, that you may have heard of. They are in the area. There's quite a few in the area. I've seen them right around here around the ranch house. I've seen them at the entrance, and Where else? I have seen them over on Sage Trail if you want to look for tarantula hawks. Usually they fly low to the ground. You may have heard about a pain scale. Some guy on one of the YouTube channels that gets stung by all the insects, all the wasps, to see what was most painful. The tarantula hawk has an incredibly painful sting, but we have no reason to fear them because they're not looking to sting us. They want to sting the tarantula. And so this is another relationship that the insects have. It's with the arachnids. The insects, 3 body parts, 6 legs. Arachnids, 2 body parts, 8 legs. What the tarantula hawk does is she stings the tarantula. It doesn't kill the tarantula. It just paralyzes the tarantula. And then this little wasp will drag this tarantula into a burrow where its eggs will hatch and the larvae will eat their way out of the live but paralyzed tarantula. Of course, the tarantula dies at that point. So if you happen to see any tarantula hawks flying around, you might take a look out to see if you notice any burrows or where you might find a tarantula. That's what they're looking for. And so this tarantula, I'll tell you, I do not handle the tarantulas out here like this. And I ask thee, please respect the wildlife and not handle it. You can take a picture. This is actually a store-bought tarantula. And she lives in the ranger station and up here, and you can come visit her. But I don't handle the tarantulas out here like this. She's accustomed to being handled. They can bite. They are venomous. She's got fangs. Right. So this is a Chilean rosehair tarantula. They're very similar to the ones that are here, but they're not exactly the same species that are here. This is just so that I can show you similar behavior. The way that she moves, you might have noticed like spiders move, they're creepy. Why are they creepy? Why do we think that spiders are creepy and we want to kill them, right? Movies probably tell us why, you got to be fearful of spiders. There are some spiders out here that are harmful. The tarantulas that you'll probably see out here are going to be the males. The females spend more of their time in their burrows, hidden. They can live up to big 20, 25 years in captivity. The males will live maybe 3 to 5 years. The males are going to have smaller abdomen and be darker in color. So it's going to look like their legs are longer in proportion to their abdomen. They're going to be darker and they might move a little bit faster. A lot of times we'll see them on the ranch house road at the end of the day, especially from the end of summer to, I haven't been, what is this, November. I haven't seen too many lately. So end of summertime, they're out. The males are out looking for females. So the males are out and about and they can get pretty, she's webbing right now. She's got spinnerets on her hind and that's what she uses her web. It's a lot of web. I don't know if you can see this. What they do with their webs, instead of like orb weavers, you might see orb weavers will put their webs up in the trees or hang them on the ranch house porch in the areas. Why do you think that they do that? A lot of spiders will use their web like that in order to catch prey. So that they actually have, their web has a layout like a house. They have different sticky parts and different not so sticky parts, and there's a place, and they'll go out and they'll get prey when another insect comes along and gets stuck on their web, then they will eat that. But she does it a little bit different, and there are some other spiders out here that do it different. All tarantulas are spiders, but not all spiders are tarantulas. She puts her web on the floor, on the ground, and they don't see very well, so she uses it to get around. If she ever does leave her burrow, she's going to use her web, she's going to spin like that so that she can find her way back, even if she doesn't go very far. They have a cluster of eyes, and they don't see like you or I do. They see in like lights and darks in like a fishbowl kind of effect. So it's a very different experience for them. They're experiencing daily ranch very differently than how we are experiencing daily ranch. They don't see very well. They're getting around with shadows and a fishbowl kind of view, and they're using a web to get around back and forth. They sense vibrations. They're very, very sensitive to the vibrations in the ground. So, and she's laid her web out so that when a cricket comes along the web and triggers it, it's like a tripwire, she'll know that there's something out there that probably weighs about that much. Maybe I want to eat it, and then she can come out and attack it. So she's a little bit more active of a hunter than the orb weaver, who is sitting up on its web waiting for the insect to get tangled up in its web. A lot of times we think that they're creepy because the way they walk, they look creepy. It's a very different type of anatomy than the way we walk. Our skeleton's on the inside and we have muscles, and we can control that voluntarily. We can move our legs so that we walk with our muscles and our bones and our structure. The way that she moves her limbs is on a hydrostatic method. So we have a heart with 4 chambers. They have a heart that just makes it like a tube, and she squeezes the heart so that the blood flows to extend her leg in order to move, and then she uses a muscle to bring it back in order to walk. Could you imagine having to adjust your blood pressure in order to move a limb? It's just really unique. One thing that's different about tarantulas and other spiders is that she has jaws. She has what's like jaws, only it doesn't move like our jaws, but it's sideways jaws. And she does chew her crickets or insects, whatever she's eating at the time. It's a little bit of a different than some other spiders. So the tarantulas are out here. They are arthropods. Remember, we said that they have their skeleton on the outside of their body. And so what they do, like you've heard about the snakes shedding their skin, arthropods will shed their exoskeleton. This is her exoskeleton that she shed recently. Pops it open and steps out. Sometimes it happens pretty quickly. Sometimes it can take a while. Sometimes they don't survive the process. But it's how she grows. If she were to happen to get caught by a coyote and get away, maybe she's lost a leg or something, oftentimes she can regrow a leg and will become evident once she molts again that she'll have her legs back. The regeneration type of skill. We have some harmful arachnids out here. We have deer ticks. They hang out on the end of the leaves so that as you brush by, they will latch onto you and feed on your blood. And they can transmit diseases. So if you've been out on a hike out here, just check and make sure that you don't have any ticks on you. We also have scorpions. You might have heard of taking the black light out into the desert to look for the scorpions. I've only seen them in the bathroom underneath the sink. I have not seen them out here on the trail or anywhere, but they are in the area. The arachnids that are harmful out here are the black widows and the brown widows. And so those will sting, and they have venom. They usually see them out at night, but they'll be out in the dark corners in wood piles and hiding in the dark mostly. But their egg sacs are evident, sometimes in the handles of the trash cans, oftentimes the picnic tables. Used to be the picnic tables in the park. I could find underneath where the legs meet the tables, I would find the egg sacs. We have both black widows and brown widows in the area. The black widows have like a cotton ball type of egg sac. And then the brown widows have more like a spiky ball type of egg sac, and it's much, much more sturdy. What do you think would be the advantage of that? Some people have been observing and reporting that the brown widows have been outplacing or outcompeting the black widows. It could be that their reproductive sacs are sturdier and not as easy to destroy as the black widow egg sacs, although I have seen them both nesting within 3 feet of each other. They don't seem to harm each other, but one might outcompete the other. The black widows and the brown widows are the ones that you'd want to just watch out for. We don't have any reports confirmed of any brown recluses in the area. I get that question a lot. Sometimes people think that the brown recluses, I did see those in Texas, don't have any reports that they've been confirmed in San Diego County. Have not ever seen anything like that. Here we have desert recluses a little bit north of here, but it's not like the brown recluse that we've heard about in other parts of the country. So with the scorpions and the widow spiders and the ticks, you just need to be careful and mindful that they're out here and just check for them. And with the spiders, you can enjoy them, the different types of, you might see the funnels as you're hiking along, the funnel spiders, tarantula burrows. If you see a tarantula hawk, you might look for a tarantula in the area. If just wanted to point out that the important role that insects have and why we protect them is that they help pollinate, propagate plant species. They are a food source for everything else. This is like candy for coyotes. And they also help with the decomposition. They help clean things up out here. So we protect the insects and the arachnids out here, the arthropods. They play an important role in our environment out here, and we're protective of them.